All right, guys, what is going on? What is going on, everybody? Welcome into our first roundtable on this channel. I don't think I've ever had this many YouTubers on my channel before. But what's going on, everybody? We have a Giants YouTuber roundtable going on with our guys, the Hub, OGR, and the Entertainah Talkin Sports joins the channel. I'm very excited for this roundtable, guys. I know you guys wanted to see this happen too. What's going on, Edward Chan, Mike Nixon, Lestat? Welcome into the chat, guys, and welcome you guys. Glad to have you guys on, man.
Can we get a good old-fashioned Entertainah stand up?
Oh yeah, everybody stand up for the Entertainah.
I need everybody to chat right now. Who's ever in here right now? I don't know what you're waiting for. All New York Giants fans, do me a favor. Stand up, God, I just got a hiccup. New York Giant fans. Thank you to everybody for being here, man. I'm super excited. I always love working with all you guys. So thank you for having me on, Kid Blue.
And I gotta say, what's up, Giants fans? How y'all doing, man? Listen, thank you, Kid Blue, for bringing me on, of course. But this isn't really a round table, man. This is a square table. We got 4 corners right here, bro. You gotta correct that.
Right. And I do need everybody in the chat to do us a big favor. Hadouken that like button. Let's go.
That's a nice one, bro.
Thank you guys for joining in. We got a couple of Giants topics to talk about as the Giants have been making the news quite a lot so far in this past week. We have Nate Solder. It's pretty much getting towards old news, but it'll be good for us all of to recognize that, acknowledge that in this stream. So I'll start with you, Tana. What would you take on the Nate Solder situation?
I mean, it was something that, I think most Giant fans probably thought was a realistic possibility. The guy's got a sick child at home. We talked about it all of last offseason, how we thought that was going to affect his play. I kind of mentioned in my video, I was like, and I didn't really think about it during the offseason, but after the fact, I said, well, if he played poorly last year, now you got the coronavirus. You got the fear of that, bringing that home to your child. How do you think he's going to play this year? So I think it was the best for both parties. I think the Giants and Nate Solder, we'll see if the Giants decide to do anything with that cap money. But I think the Giants have the bodies personally to be able to fill in for Nate Solder. But I get OGR's point of view when I watched this video, how Nate Solder's a leader on this team. No doubt about it. He's a captain. He's a great guy. And and we were all hoping he was going to bounce back and do better on the right side of the line or the left side, wherever they were going to play him. And I get both sides of it, because now Andrew Thomas, who I think we all think is going to be a great left tackle, he might not necessarily be ready to be a left tackle right away in the NFL. And that's what Nate Solder might have afforded, him to start over on the right side for at least half the season, being that it's not a normal offseason. Now, Andrew Thomas is starting on the left side. I can't see Cam Fleming or Nick Gates being the left tackle. So Thomas is going to be the left tackle. And, so I could see both sides of it. But I'm excited to see, who could step up, take that role. I think Fleming or Gates, after the extension he got, which I'm sure we're going to talk about, have an opportunity to be that right tackle. And we'll see. We'll see how it plays out. But I'm just excited for the season to start.
Oh, same here, man. I just want the season to start. I don't care who's playing what position. What about you, Hub?
Well, first of all, man, we're only 6 weeks away. Woo! Even though I really do think that the NFL should push it back probably another month. Because, listen, like you said, before I get into Nate Solder, ain't nobody got enough time to prepare for the season. They really should be pushing this thing back like a month. Give them, it's not just the rookies. The veterans also need time to get into shape, man. But we could probably get into that a bit later. With Nate Solder, like, part of me was surprised. Part of me wasn't really that surprised, because I actually made a vid on it like exactly 1 week before. I was like, yo, Nate Solder might opt out, bro. His kid had cancer, and then I learned when I read his statement that he had cancer. I didn't even know Nate Solder himself went through cancer, and so he was battling that. So even if he didn't have a kid, think about him. Think about yourself. You just survived cancer. You just going through that hard battle. Now you're a high-risk patient to get COVID and, possibly be a fatal, risk of COVID and whatnot. Add that onto your kid. Ain't nobody in the world is going to sacrifice, or take that risk of doing that to your child and whatnot. And like Tana said, mentally, a great aspect to think about is if he played that bad last year because his kid was going through it, he's going to play even worse this year, because it's going to be twofold now with COVID and cancer. And then there's the fact that nobody knows how in the world he's affected physically now because of the knee surgery last year. Dude's only getting older. I don't know about you guys, but I think we can all agree that this was probably Nate Solder's last year here, talking about age-wise and the way his body is going to physically deteriorate from this point down. I think I don't know about in the NFL, but I think he's basically done with the Giants. So I respect the decision. I mean, he was smart about it too. He waited until he got his roster bonus, so he still got a couple $1 million to survive off of. He was smart about it. He didn't just take, the 100,000. And depending on how the cap, like, I'm still very much confused about the cap situation. I think now would probably be a good time to look at it because Golden officially signed his tenure and whatnot. Either way, I think it's going to stay there in terms of the cap situation. Probably just going to roll into the season with it.
Yeah. Well, you OGR?
Me, again, I respect, being a father myself, I respect Nate Solder's decision. Well, that being said, though, I agree with all. This is his last year as a Giant. I don't see him coming back, even though I think he's added, even though it's technically added, I think another year onto his contract, if I'm not mistaken. You reported on that, Tanner, if I'm not mistaken, correct?
Yeah, basically, everything got pushed back. The figures are a little bit different. Like, it was due, I think, 19.5 and 20 over the next two. Now it's like 16 and 14. But it's, everything got, he's still, instead of being a free agent of 2021, now it's 2022.
So does that also mean that if we cut him next year, that we're on hook for some dead money, I assume?
Yeah, it's not that much, though, as of now. Now, I don't know the specifics. That's what I said in my live stream. That's why I didn't make a video on it, because I'm not 100% sure. I'm not sure if we spend some of this money that we just got, if it's going to affect the cap next year, because if that $10 million that we saved, if we spend it, does it go back on the dead cap of Nate Solder? Because this year it was going to be a $16 million hit. Now it's only a $6 million hit next year. So it's about the same as it would have been. I think it was $6 million next year. I think it would have cost 20 and it was 6. Now it would cost 16 and it's 6. So the dead cap is still the same as of now.
All right. So, I mean, that's a little concerning. I mean, maybe we have to keep him around for another year to just basically be a bench warmer unless you really want to swallow that dead money. But even then, he won't be playing at that point. So, I mean, it's little to none. And then a lot of people actually pointed out that Zeitler could actually be cut next year and that Nick Gates might actually.
I do not want Zeitler to be cut, bro. Zeitler is by far our best offensive lineman.
Why is Nick Gates the conversation of everything?
Man,
we can get to Nick Gates in a second, bro.
I have him on the channel next week for the Big Blue Courtroom, but Big Blue Up Bias did point that out. I'm not saying.
Listen, all I'm saying is Kevin Zeitler to this point in his career is still top 10 guard in the league, in my opinion.
Oh, absolutely.
He's still performing at that level. Why in the world would we want to cut? He's by far the best offensive lineman, man. He's that rock on the
I agree with you guys. I don't want to cut him. From a financial standpoint, I can understand it because he only carries a $2 million hit. You just drafted Shane Lemieux. If you think he's ready, you save a lot of money. But I agree. He's by the way, my headphones are broken. I tried to tape it. I'm just gonna hold it. I'm gonna have to get a new set of headphones tomorrow. But I think I threw him down during the Mets game today.
Oh my god! If you need a recommendation, get the ones that I'm wearing, bro. They were only like $25 on Amazon.
But I forgot what I was saying. What were we just talking about now? We were talking about
Zeitler.
Yeah, I think Zeitler is going to stay with the Giants next year. I'd be shocked if he doesn't. But I could understand it because you save $10 million. But like you guys said, he's far and away our best lineman, if not our second best. We'll see what Andrew Thomas does.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, and another thing Zeitler definitely has to stay is because one thing Tanner brought up earlier, and I also brought up in my live stream when I found out about Solder was, whether we like it or not, he was a leader on the team. Being voted a team captain 2 years in a row, that's not decided by us. That's decided by the players. He obviously did something as a leader to get that 2 years in a row. I think Zeitler very much steps into that role now, especially on the offensive line. You talk about the two tackle positions. They're going to need a mentor. I know Zeitler doesn't play tackle, but he's going to take in somewhat some of that role along with Cam Fleming. He's definitely going to step in there as a leader now.
Right. Yeah, for sure. Somebody like Cam Fleming. I mean, leaders come out of nowhere. I mean, it doesn't have to be a starter. You know, if you are a veteran in this league, you can be a leader. You don't have to be a starter.
Right. Yeah. Completely agree. Since we touched on it a little bit and people are talking about it already, Nick Gates got himself a contract.
Your favorite Giants lineman.
My favorite Giants player. I've got somebody, I think it's Nerding Out Sports. He really wants me to get a Nick Gates jersey now just because he got an extension.
When I found out about the Nick Gates contract extension, Nerding Out Sports was, I don't know, somehow, some way we were in contact. I was like, bro, the next live stream Kid Blue does, you need to spam in the chat Nick Gates at right tackle. I haven't seen him done it yet, but
well, to get into the specifics, Nick Gates was signed to a 2-year, for anybody who doesn't know, 2-year contract extension for a maximum of $10.3 million, but a minimum of 6.3 or 6.8.
They're both, it's like 6.32,
like
and then I think up to 10.32.
Yeah, something like $6.8 million, something like that. My quick opinion on it, listen, a lot of people thought I would be pissed off at this. I agree. I don't think he should have been signed just yet. I think that was a little too early to give him an extension already. I would like to see, the season play out, of course, and then think about re-signing him. But I can understand the value that he possesses. This is a guy that's a depth player. He's able to play on pretty much any part of the offensive line. You need a guy like that. A lot of people thought I was comparing him to this player, but I wasn't. That's David Deal. You guys, David Deal in the past would go to every position possible, but he did it at a very high level. And now I don't think Nick Gates does it at a very high, is going to do it at a very high level, but the similarity is there in the value. You could use somebody like that on your team, so I don't mind them extending him. I just don't like how they did it so quickly and how much they paid him. It's a little hefty of a price to pay a guy $3.5 million a year just to be a depth swing tackle guy. I don't know if they were planning on potentially starting him, or if they say, hey, we're just giving you this money just in case you do start. I don't know. But that being said, guys, I want to get you guys' thoughts on a Nick Gates conversation.
Who wants to go first?
I'll start with you, Hump, since you asked.
Listen, because I got to say, the moment I found out the news, somebody in my Discord hit me up. They're like, what do I think about it? I was like, well, you know what? I'm actually for it. I think it's a pretty good forward-thinking move on the Giants' part because he's going to be a great depth player. I thought he was going to be a swing tackle. I mean, I still don't know how much he's going to be when it comes to center and guard, even though everybody's been talking about that. I know at the very least he's going to be a great swing tackle to have, behind the starters and whatnot. And one of my members, they said, man, I think he's overrated and all that. He shouldn't start. I'm like, well, I didn't say that. I think this is very much a move for depth. But, Kiblu, you did say in terms of a depth player, I'm not sure. Don't quote me off the top of my head, but I don't think this is like $3 million. Is that not depth player money for an offensive lineman? You guys would have to correct me there. Well, like it kind of seems like it.
$3.5 million. I usually see a lot of these guys. I usually see a lot of these guys being paid like $2 million, $1 million.
So it's like it's within the ballpark, right? But they definitely expect him. Like, let's be honest. I don't think Cam Fleming is starting more than 3 or 4 games. Because I think that's the max he could start at a good, consistent pace, 3 or 4 games. And then Nick Gates is probably going to come in. If it's for the rest of the season, it's for the rest of the season. But he's going to come in there for the most part at right tackle this season, I think, before Peart comes in, because he's very much a project player.
OGR?
So, yeah. And a lot of people like to make the point that Nick Gates was going to be a restricted free agent after the contract was up this year. So a lot of people felt like, we should have waited. No, I don't mind extending somebody who it might be your future right tackle right now. Yeah. I know a lot of people, especially you, Kid Blue, love Matt Peart, but Matt Peart's a 6th round pick for a reason. So
hey, he was a 3rd round pick.
Was he?
He was a 3rd. Put some respect. Listen, I always say Matt Peart's a project guy, but I love Matt Peart. Put some respect on his name. OGR, listen to me right now, bro. 3 years down the line, Matt Peart's going to be better than Mekhi Becton, but it's 3 years down the line. He's a project player.
Okay, hey, and I hope you're right. I mean, hey, I live in Connecticut. Why wouldn't I want to see this dude succeed? But all that being said, though, I like the move. We'll see how it shakes out. I mean, Wisconsin linemen seem to do pretty well in the NFL, so remains to be seen. Entertainah?
I'm going to take the headphones off. Let me know if you guys hear an echo or anything in the chat.
It actually sounds pretty well.
It does?
Exactly like you did it when you had them on your head.
Okay, good. Okay. All right, so I can take these broken headphones off and slam them again. So, anyway,
I'm telling you, get these, bro. Get these.
As far as the Nick Gates.
Wrong spike on those.
I had to get one last spike. But as far as the Nick Gates stuff goes, I am I have no problem with that. I mean, like you just said, first off, people need to understand. I saw a lot of people in my comments say, "Oh, they're paying this guy $5.5 million a year over 2 years. That's horrible." No, first off, it's incentive. He's going to get a minimum of about $3 million or $3.2 million, which is what a swing tackle gets. Cam Fleming got $4.5 million this year by the New York Giants. I look at it as a move where the New York Giants are being proactive. They probably believe in Nick Gates. They think he could be the starting center, or they think he's a very valuable piece, like you were saying with David Deal, where you could move him around. And for $3 million, it's really not that much money. And if he gets the incentives, he's probably worth the $5 million. That means he's doing something right. So I like Nick Gates. I think it's a good pickup. Like you said, Kid Blue, I don't view him as a David Deal-like player, but in terms of talent. But I think he is very versatile, and it's part of the reason why I kind of don't want him to start. I like his ability to come.
Yo, I just want to say thank you for that. That's the point that I always try to make. Thank you. You said it.
Yeah, I don't want him to start. I like his ability to come off the bench if there's an injury, if somebody goes down, if somebody's not performing well, because you know it's going to happen. It happens every year. So if they decide to start Fleming at the right tackle, they decide to start, Pulley at the center. It's good that you have a guy like that could come in and do the job at any one of the 5 positions. So if I was the coach of the Giants, that's what I want going into the season. I would want Gates to be the 6th offensive lineman that would come in inevitably when somebody goes down with an injury or is just not playing well.
Yeah, I like
Guys,
it.
I just want to point this out real quick. It could be worse. You could be the Bengals paying $5 million to Bobby Hart.
Yo,
I know. I still am wondering what on earth they were thinking. I want to adjust the chat a little bit. Mike Lowe in the house. Big Blue Jabroni is in the house. I know.
Yo, shout out to Nikki. Yo, she was my very first member. Shout out to Nikki in the chat.
Nikki in the chat. Nerding Out Sports says, I'll show it here so I can use this thing here. Nerding Out Sports says, my opinion, Gates or Fleming gets the right tackle spot this year, and Peart takes over in 2021. But just to mess with KB, Nick Gates starts at right tackle forever.
Yeah, I will say this, and Edward Chan said it. For some reason, the Giants love Nick Gates. I think this contract extension makes that clear. For some reason, they do love him.
And I'll give Nick Gates credit for one thing. Watching Nick Gates, when we first initially signed him 2 years ago, I did my research on all the undrafted free agents, and I watched film on Nick Gates in Nebraska. This guy was an absolute doorman. I mean, this guy would just let people through, let pass rushers through all the time. But after all that, he's in the NFL now. He has played better. I will give him that. Like, he can play in the NFL. He deserves a spot in the NFL. I didn't think he had a chance whatsoever in the NFL when we initially signed. I said, this guy has no chance whatsoever. But he is getting better. Now, I'm gonna, my opinion on him, I'm gonna reserve to the end of the year, see what happens. But I'm not gonna say this guy's gonna develop. But I mean, he has progressed just a bit. I want to pose this question to you guys. What do you guys think? Do you guys think it's easier for Nick Gates to start at center or right tackle? I'll start with Tana on this one.
As crazy as it may sound, even though most people would probably view right tackle as maybe the tougher position or more important position, even though I think center is probably the second most important position on offensive line behind left tackle, I think right tackle is going to be much easier for him to start than center. So he's never played center. He's played the right tackle before, not to mention you're playing alongside, like we were just saying, the best guy in the offensive line, Kevin Zeitler. So he should be able to help him out in some capacity. The center position, whoever plays there, I think it's going to be a disaster, if I'm being completely honest. I don't trust any of these guys to be the center to open up the center, to open up the season, whether it's Pulley, whether it's Shane Lemieux, or whether it's Gates. But, if I was picking a position for Gates where I think he would be best suited for, at least as of now, and maybe he could become a good center, but right now, day one, right tackle is a much easier transition for him.
Okay. Before I get to OGR, quickly, I want to give a shout out to Greg C with the $10 donations to stand up. Happy to support the Giant content creator community. I appreciate that, Greg. Thank you so much for dropping by, and thank you so much for the super chat. OGR, your thoughts?
So I agree with Tana. I think right tackle is easier to start at for him. Obviously, he already has a little bit of continuity with Zeitler there, so that makes sense. And then, again, I don't trust anybody at center to really come in and do it day one, especially when you only have 14 padded practices to really get going. Before Nate Solder opted out, I said I wouldn't be surprised if the Giants go all in on veteran players that played in the NFL, that produce in the NFL. I wouldn't be surprised if Pulley starts at center, because who's going to be ready to play center day one?
Right.
Pulley or Lemieux with 14 padded practices. My money's on Pulley. Same with, at the time, Nate Solder to either be at right tackle or left tackle. The only guy I could have seen starting right off from day one, and I think it was a big ask with 14 padded practices, is Andrew Thomas. And I do expect Andrew Thomas to struggle at left tackle. But for the most part, yeah, I think right tackle will be the best place for Nick Gates right now. And I think he's going to be the starting right tackle because he already has familiarity with Zeitler. Hub?
Yeah, I completely agree with you guys. And for me, it's completely based on the fact that I've never seen this dude play at center. He's never actually played at center in the NFL. The only thing we've heard with him and center is the reports saying, oh, he can play at it. Oh, the Giants may try him out at center and whatnot. Still not sure how believable that is, but, with a right tackle 100%. And it really does have to do with the fact that he's going to have Zeitler right there next to him, helping him out. Rather than being at the center, I agree with Tane on that point. I think center is right after left tackle in terms of being one of the more difficult positions to play on the offensive line. You talk about when it comes to run blocking especially, and then also your relationship with the quarterback as a center is probably more important than the relationship between a left tackle and the quarterback and whatnot. 100% is going to be that. And like OGR said, veterans are going to take the first step because at least they have experience in the NFL when it comes to this offensive line. Pulley 100%, I expect him to start week 1. And Cam Fleming at right tackle, I expect to start week 1. Gates is going to come in sometime later.
Okay, yeah, good stuff, man. I listen, I wouldn't have a huge problem with Nick Gates if it wasn't for the draft. The draft is when I think I solidified my dislike for Nick Gates, because when we drafted Matt Peart, people try to stomp on my parade because I loved me some Matt Peart. And people try to stomp on my parade and say, but we have Nick Gates. We have Nick Gates. Why did we draft Matt Peart? And I'm like, okay, I can understand why they're upset. And then we draft Shane Lemieux. And everybody kind of understood from that moment on, Shane Lemieux was a guard, but we're probably going to try him out at center. Then people were like, but we have Nick Gates. Nick Gates is going to play center. I'm like, oh my God, you guys think Nick Gates is going to play everything? So
listen, man, as a backup, go ahead.
Yeah, listen, as a depth player, I'm all for Nick Gates, but I just hated the hype he was presenting. But we had some comments over here. Everybody kind of projected the offensive line. Manuel says Thomas, Hernandez, Pulley, Zeitler, and Fleming to start the season. Lemieux and Peart to eventually get in the mix. I want to talk about Matt Peart a little bit because I love me some Matt Peart. I want to get everybody's thoughts on
new member.
New member in the chat. Oh, that new member gold tier. Thank you so much, Mr. Smurf. That is actually my dad. So my
there you go.
My dad's a member of my channel. All right, awesome.
And I want to say what's up to Greg, who gave that donation. He's a great supporter of so many people in the Giants community. What's up, Greg?
Yeah, I appreciate it, Greg. Thank you so much. But I want to talk about Matt Peart a little bit. It wasn't initially on my topics, but I find myself talking about Matt Peart quite a lot. So I want to get you guys' thoughts on Peart. When do you guys think he will be able to start? Do you guys think he's going to be thrown in there at some point in the season? What are your thoughts on Matt Peart? I'll start with you, Hub.
You already know, bro. I'm just as big as a Matt Peart fan as you are. I made the declaration he's going to be better than Mekhi Becton eventually. Love the guy's physical ability. He's just way too raw. Listen, in an ideal world, I wouldn't put Matt Peart in the starting position at any time during this season. He's way too raw to put him in there now. The Giants knew what they got when they drafted him. That's somebody with potential but needs a lot of work. Obviously not at all a normal offseason. If he is going to start, I want him to start during the very last quarter, those last 4 weeks of the season, if anything, because I don't think he's going to be well prepared throughout to come in here and do it. He's such a project. He needs to work so much on his footwork and his fundamentals, but everything else is there. It's the coaching, and that's another thing that's going to suffer. We're talking about players going to suffer, rookies going to suffer. Mm-hmm. Giants completely new coaching staff, they're going to suffer as well, and they're going to struggle for a couple of weeks. So that plays into why I don't want him to jump in too soon or anything.
Yeah. OGR?
This guy is not seeing the field at any point this season. And like Hub said, maybe the last 4 quarters or something like the last game. Please, he is too raw. Kid Blue, I know you love him. He's too raw. And a lot of these players never develop. They never develop. That could be a realistic option in that pair. Let's face it. I mean, project players sometimes don't develop. I want him to. And with Mark Colombo, yes, I agree. It's looking up for him, but let's slow. 14 padded practices. That's all I got to say. 14 padded practices. Okay.
You're right.
Entertainah.
I mean, I don't know if I agree to the full extent of what OGR said, but I pretty much agree. Matt Peart, to me, the offensive line is something you don't mess around with. A lot of people talk about, we want all the, we're not going to win anyway. Let's throw these guys out there. Let's start, let's start developing our young talent. No, not with the offensive line, not with a second-year quarterback with Daniel Jones, with learning a completely new system in a shortened offseason. We're not even talking about what OGR just said about the offensive line with a shortened offseason, right? Guys that have not been accustomed to the NFL yet, and especially with the schedule that we start out with. You want to talk about, we're playing superstar pass rushers every week. There is no chance Matt Peart starts the season for the New York Giants. He is way too green, right? And he's way too much of a project right now. You need established veterans on that offensive line to start the season to make sure you keep your quarterback healthy and not in a casket. So I like Matt Peart. He's got really long arms, nimble feet, really high upside. We said the same thing about Lorenzo Carter, and now New York Giants fans are all on him right now, right? 2 years into his career.
You don't want to ruin him before his career actually begins by throwing him out there too early.
Right. Yeah, I think
Blue Cyan and just stewing over there. He's ready to throw.
Well, I think we have the luxury.
Let's go. Screw Andrew Thomas.
I think we have the luxury with the depth that we have to not start Matt Peart. We have that luxury. We don't have to throw him out there. Why are we going to do it? There's no point. You got to make sure Daniel Jones is good to go. And hopefully Matt Peart, maybe the last 3 or 4 games you can put him out there, but he ain't seen the field for at least 12 games.
Right. I agree to the point where I don't think he's day one ready. I don't think the guy's day one ready yet. I have high hopes for him, but just with the shuffling of the offensive line, Nick Gates can probably survive some games, right? He played a decent 3 games when he started the 3 games last year. It was decent. But I don't think he would survive a 16-game stretch. Neither do I think Cam Fleming would. So I think at some point they're going to put Matt Peart in. I don't think it's going to be early. I agree with you guys. I don't think it's going to be early, but I think it could be earlier than week 12. Because if you look at Nick Gates and Cam Fleming, I don't hold very much confidence in any of those guys. And anything can happen, whether it be injury or something. I think Matt Peart can at least be out there by week 8. Not saying that he's going to start throughout the season, but by week 8, I think, week 8 and on, I think he will be able to get some playing time at right tackle. And I just love what the Giants did. When they drafted these 2 tackles. They drafted the 2 tackles who have the longest arms in the draft class. These guys have the longest. I mean, you could tell they're trying to build. That was a strategic move, man. You don't just do that by accident. And I just want to pull up a stat. I don't like PFF that much, guys. I don't. But when it comes to
listen, bro, PFF, I'll say this: their stats are the truth. Is the way they interpret those stats where they lose me.
Right. So. I don't pay attention to PFF too much, but when it comes to the trench players, I do, because when it comes to the trench players, I think they're right. Like when it comes to defensive linemen and offensive linemen, I kind of like what their rankings on things. Like they had Andrew Thomas, the highest rated offensive tackle in the 2020 draft. So here are the 2019 overall grade rank among tackles in the draft class. So this is for the 2020 offensive tackles. Andrew Thomas was second with 92.7 grade, and then Matt Peart was 6th in the draft class with 90.2. Just want to throw that out there for you guys.
I'm telling you, bro, he's gonna be better than Becton.
One thing I will tell you guys, he is a raw player. All right, he is a raw player. You could obviously see issues with the footwork when he's there. But one thing I really like about Matt Peart, and yes, he played for UConn. The strength of the competition that they're playing is not, SEC level, right? But you could see that he was the best offensive lineman on that offensive line just by far. I mean, he didn't let anybody through. He was able to handle speed rushers as well. He's kind of on a thinner side for a tackle, very slimmer and looks strong as well. And I don't know why. I'm just gushing about Matt Peart. I'm so excited.
I noticed that too. I don't know if you guys noticed. He looks like not a direct comparison, but you know how Aaron Donald literally just looks like a linebacker that was like supersized? Matt Peart looks like a tight end that was supersized. He's not really big in terms of being fat like an offensive line. He just looks big and strapping and strong for an offensive line.
I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, in high school, he used to play basketball.
Even though he's weirdly lean.
I want to point something out here because we love PFF apparently. Did Carter Coughlin have a higher pass rush grade than what's his face there?
Carter Coughlin's junior year.
He had a higher pass rush grade.
He had a higher pass rush grade, I believe, than Chase Young had this past season.
Yeah.
Just saying. So Carter Coughlin, secret stud.
And you never know.
You have been high on Carter Coughlin, OGR.
I was definitely high.
I love PJ Fleck. I'm sorry. I'm a PJ Fleck fan. And plus, I'm copying PJ Fleck with the ball.
I want to say one thing. Manuel brings up a good point in the chat. I think I brought this up with Tana on our live stream on Friday and with you too, Kiblu, on Young Guns. He says, hopefully Garrett's multi-tight end sets and Penny blocking for Saquon will help the line. I expect a lot of multiple tight end sets to help with the blocking of the line this year.
For sure.
I'm super excited to see the usage of the fullback this year. I've talked about that in my videos before. Last year, the New York Giants only used a fullback 11% of the time. I think the 49ers led the league at about 40%. I think the Giants are going to be closer to that. Especially you look at Dallas. They've always used the fullback a lot more than most teams with the Jason Garrett offense. So I think we're going to see Elijah Penny out there. I think it's going to be good for Saquon Barkley. I'm excited for that. I'm excited to see the I formation, the offset I formation, and you're going to see a ton of 2 tight end sets. And don't think that they didn't bring in Toyolo for nothing. They're going to be using him at the goal line. He's a really good blocker. Yeah, I'm excited about that, to get back to hard-nosed football.
Yeah, this season of football, hopefully, with nobody else opting out and no injuries that are probably going to happen due to lack of practices, but this offense that we're going to see from the New York Giants is going to be completely different, and it's one that we've all been begging for years. Just run the ball, and better blocking with the fullback and tight ends. Use more 2 tight end sets, which is something that we never did under Ben McAdoo or Pat Shurmur. So I'm extremely excited for it, man. But I want to talk about the news that happened today, and that was Leonard Williams making some negative news once again. And
this boy Leo, bro,
again just proves why Dave Gettleman should not have traded for him in the first place. But Dave is just gonna go right down with the ship, man. He's gonna make sure he's trying to be proven right. But Leonard Williams apparently showed up to the facility already hurt, right? He's on the NFI list, and I don't know what the details are. I don't know if anybody.
I thought he was on the PUP list.
No, he's on the NFI list now.
Okay.
So it's non-football injury. This did not happen.
Oh my God! Yeah, how do you get a non-football injury in
I'll tell you how.
bro?
I follow him on Instagram. Every time I see the guy, he's like snowboarding, or he's canoeing, or he's going for a hike, or he's doing this during a pandemic. He's becoming like a world traveler, and that's probably how. If I had to guess, he's probably doing all these physical activities off the football field.
I mean, well, first off, shout out my nieces in the chat. She says hi, Uncle.
Hey, what's going on?
She's literally in the next room. I had to put on the stream for her because she wanted to see it. But I mean, listen, I'm not about to tell Leonard Williams how to live his life off the field. Like you said, it's a physical activity, so I guess he's using that to stay in shape. But I guess as a Giants fan, you would expect him to be a lot more careful, especially in the time that we're in right now and circumstances and whatnot. And knowing that you're the highest paid player on the team now, you might want to stay healthy so that you could actually play. Like I don't want to tell you how to live your life off the field, but this is 100% on him.
Right. And this is a guy that was like pushing to get paid as a defensive end when he got franchise tagged. I mean, like you said, I'm not going to tell anybody how to live their life, but you're like, somewhere around 300 pounds. I think you should be careful about where you're going, what you're doing when you got to get ready for a season. But we could talk about Leonard Williams a little bit. I mean, he's getting paid $16 million off of a half a sack season, and he didn't even have that half sack on the New York. Did he have that half sack on the Giants?
I think he did. He got it the last game of the season. He had 0 before then.
Yeah. God. Can you imagine that? He's like, let me just get something to get my numbers above 0.
Yeah, right. Hey, Marcus, let me get this one, Marcus. But, Leonard Williams.
I want to hear Entertainah and OGR on this. Can you guys believe that he's now the highest paid player on the Giants? Like, how does that make you feel hearing that?
It doesn't bother me at all, really. I mean, it is what it is. So somebody's got to be your highest paid player. I mean, at some point. If not him, then Nate Solder. I mean, which one's better at that point?
Yeah,
right?
You pick your poison. But I look at the New York Giants roster right now, and I'm kind of with OGR. It's like most of our best players are guys on rookie contracts. So it would either be Bradbury, Martinez, or him would probably be the guy that. So I'm not that surprised by it. I think he's overpaid. He's definitely overpaid. He shouldn't be making
100%.
Yeah, maybe $13 million, maybe not 16.7 or whatever he's making. But hopefully he's okay. That's all I can say about it. We got to be optimistic about it. They didn't really talk about the severity of the injury. They just said it was a non-football injury. That they
can this be a blessing in disguise though? Because my guy BJ Hill, Giants rookie sack holder, could be getting some more time now.
Well, if Leonard Williams is going to miss game time, that's the guy that stands to benefit the most.
I have a question that nobody's brought up, and that is Leonard Williams. Now, we don't know the severity of the injury. We don't know
anything about it.
Does the Giants can the Giants opt out of that contract? Because I know it's a big no to get injured like on your own time. I don't know how that whole thing works out, but if you get injured on the field, it's different. But when you get injured off the field, there's a big question mark there. So I don't know the liability.
I mean, is that possible? Because like JPP got injured off the field with the fireworks and whatnot. Was that something they were considering at that? I don't know. I didn't even know that was possible.
Yeah,
I know there's liability. I'm not sure on the wording and whatnot, but depending on how it's written in, I think
every contract's different. Every contract has different clauses. So I don't know if that's included in a franchise tag or not. But one guy I'm going to keep my eye on if Leonard Williams is going to miss significant time. A guy that I keep talking about that nobody's been talking about, Austin Johnson. I'm going to keep my eye on him because he
the Titans, right?
Yeah, he played at Penn State, which I know OGR is a big fan. And our defensive line coach, obviously Coach Chaos, coached him. He's a former second-round pick. He's kind of not been that good in the NFL, but a lot of people thought to switch to this system with Coach Chaos, maybe you get a lot out of him. So obviously BJL's the first guy you think about. He's going to be the guy that you would think would stand to benefit the most. But Austin Johnson might be a guy that could get an opportunity here and maybe play well with our D-line coach being rejuvenated with him from Penn State.
There's one other guy that we're not talking about, RJ McIntosh, but I know Kid Blue likes him.
Oh, no, I love RJ McIntosh, I love RJ, bro. Yeah. When just literally before I learned about Leonard Williams' injury and I thought BJ Hill was probably going to be cut or traded sometime, I was like, RJ McIntosh, I expect to have a really good season, even with limited playing time. I love what I saw from him. And real quick, I guess I want to say Bobby Woodruff is in the chat. Everybody say hi.
Yeah, gotta say hi to Bobby. Hi, Bobby. What's going on, Bobby? What's going on?
What's going on? I see Gamer Squad said hello. What's going on, Gamer Squad? Thank you to everybody for being here. All my subscribers, all Kid Blue subscribers, all Hubs, OGRs. Thank you guys, everybody, for being here. And yeah, you gotta say hi to Bobby. Should have said it before you even got in here, guys.
The Yankees are on fire, according to both Bobby and Mr. Smurf.
Yeah, apparently. But we have a question here that I kept my eye on here. It's a good question here. It says, would you rather, from Raymond Manoff, says, would you rather have Lorenzo Carter break out to be a Pro Bowler or Will Hernandez? So would you rather one of those guys break out? I'll start with OGR on this one.
I'm going to go with Lorenzo Carter. Because everybody's saying, hey, we need a pass rush. Well, if he's breaking out as a Pro Bowl, he must be getting to the quarterback. So that one's pretty simple. Lorenzo Carter.
Like it.
I'm gonna go Will Hernandez because I think we with Marcus Golden back, I'm very confident in Golden to get 8 to 10 sacks again this season, and I'm fine with that as a pass rush. I still think, like OGR said, I still think we need somebody else to get in there. But one of the other reasons I want it to be Will Hernandez is so if he's a Pro Bowler, that means he's bouncing back, and it means that he's going to be one of the best guards in the league, and it means that he's doing a really good job, which probably means the offense is going to be running smoothly through Saquon and whatnot. And I think in today's day and age, this might be an unpopular opinion, but offense is more important than defense in today's NFL, in my opinion. And I really want that offense to be solidified as possible so that the only thing we have to worry about the following offseason is fixing that defense.
That's a good take. Chris?
My answer is all the above. I mean, I think both those guys are guys I got my eye on. I've talked extensively about Lorenzo Carter. I think Lorenzo Carter in this defense really could break out. I really did. And I hope I'm right. Maybe I'm wrong and I look like a fool. I did not buy. I was on everybody was. This is what happened with the Giant fan base. Everybody was all aboard the Lorenzo Carter train last year, and Lorenzo Carter didn't impress. He had 4.5 sacks. He was decent in coverage, but he didn't put up the numbers that people expected, and now everybody's off of it. Oh, Carter sucks. He's done. I'm on it. I'm buying him low. I'm buying this stock low.
Yo, well, what surprised me is they hopped on his exact copy in terms of story in Ocean Jimenez's trade.
Thing. So
that's the thing I don't get.
Disappoints, guys. Don't jump off the train. He's young, but Carter, I'm buying it a little bit. I think he fits this scheme really well. I think he's very versatile. You can move him in at the inside linebacker a little bit in coverage. You can play him up at the line. We saw them do that last year. I like Carter. I think he's an athlete, and I think with the proper coaching, the Giants could get a lot out of him. And Will Hernandez, I'm slightly going with Hernandez here. I want to see Hernandez really break out this year. Last year, I thought he was going to break out. He didn't. I think he could break out this year with Andrew Thomas next to him. And I think the Giants are going to try to establish the run, and that will help the defense. So for this team specifically, I agree with the Hub. I think the offense this year is more important to the team's success because of the holes in our defense. We're not going to win games unless we're winning the time of possession by 3 or 4 minutes. That's how we're going to win football games, running the ball down your throat with Saquon Barkley. Well, for him to be able to do that, Will Hernandez is going to have a big year. So I think they're both very important. But if I had to pick one just for this year, I think I'm slightly leaning Will Hernandez.
Very good take. Very good take. But Butchers Block and Patriots Talk, thank you so much for the $2 donation. Says, look at this group of lunatics. Yeah, we are.
You're the biggest lunatic I know.
We are the Giants lunatics.
Because, hey, we're Red Sox fans. We're Red Sox fans. It hurts right now.
It hurts for you. I'm a Met fan, okay?
Didn't the Mets, they dropped their second today or something? Or was it yesterday?
Mets are 3-8.
Jesus, man.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, we're 3-8. We lost our second game of the year. We had a 1-run lead. We needed one more strike. He gave up a home run. We had a 6-run lead 2 nights ago. We lost that game. We find ways to lose games. Must end the season. METS.
Oh man! I mean, I'm sure you guys are hoping. I'm sure you guys are hoping the season never started, huh?
Your guy opted out, Chris. Didn't one of your guys opt out today as well? And
Yoenis Cespedes, which I can't blame him. Cespedes has robbed the Mets for the last 4 years, making $25 million for doing nothing. And I mean, if I were him, I wouldn't be playing either. To be honest with you,
what people are getting up in arms about is the way he did it, or something like that.
Well, yeah. What happened was I'm calling the game today. And everybody in the chat's like, Cespedes didn't show up to the park. The Mets don't know where he is. And I'm like, what? And people in the chat are like, maybe. And I thought, that's the first thing I thought. I'm like, maybe this guy's really hurt. Maybe this guy is in critical condition. He's not answering his cell phone. They said nothing. And then by like the 7th inning, they said it's not a physical concern. And then it came out right after the game that he was opting out because of the virus.
You probably pulled Levante Davis, man. He just said, "Listen, I'm retiring. I'm done. I'm quitting."
When you said nobody could reach him, it reminds me of what was it? Was it 2016, 2017 when the Knicks had Rose and Rose went missing for a weekend or something like that? That was like a crazy time.
Oh.
Yeah, I remember.
And also another topic I want to talk about. If Chris, if you could explain what's going on in the MLB right now as far as people getting sick. I don't know too much about it. I feel like you know more about baseball than I do about what's going on there.
Yeah, I just want to make sure you don't miss. Did you get Bobby's super chat?
Bobby got a super chat?
Bobby got us. I didn't see that either.
Butcher's block.
Oh, Butcher's block. Yeah.
Oh, you did? Okay. I wasn't sure. As far as baseball goes, yeah, a lot of people are worried about the MLB and how it could, if they have to cancel their season, what does that mean for football? And baseball, the Marlins have had 21. I think it's a combination of players, coaches that have come down with the virus. Now the Cardinals, I think, are up to 6. And they've had to postpone. Today, there were 4 games that were postponed. Almost a third of the teams are not playing right now. So that's a problem. And if they don't get into gear, I think the commissioner of the sport said by tomorrow, I think they're going to have a meeting that it's possible if things don't improve, they're going to have to cancel the season. And obviously, if baseball cancels the season, what do you think that means for football? And I was thinking about this with people in my Discord. I want to get your guys' take on my theory with this. If I was the commissioner of football, and I don't know if they could do this right now, my thought process would be this. The NBA's got a bubble for all 30 teams or 20 teams because the Knicks aren't there because they suck. But what I would do if I was the commissioner of the NFL, I would have put together 4 separate bubbles. I would have put together, and the Giants this year play the AFC North, for example. I would put all the AFC North teams and all the NFC East teams in a bubble. That would be one of the bubbles. There would be 4 separate bubbles for the teams you play in your division and the out-of-conference division that you play. And that would account for 10 of the games. And then you only have to travel for the other 6. And those 6 games, you're going to bubbles. So I thought something like that, I think, would be the best move for the NFL. And they're not even doing what baseball did. Baseball at least kept it geographically close. Like the Mets are only playing the National League East, the American League East. They got the Giants going to Seattle. They got the Giants going all the way across the country. I hope and pray we have a season. It doesn't seem very well thought out to me, the plan.
Yeah, before I get you guys' thoughts, I really like the plan, Chris. That makes a lot of sense as well. I want to get another super chat from Butcher's Block and Patriots Talk. Tana and OGR Misery loves company. And then Bobby with the $2 donations. Kid Blue, you are awesome. Are you taking calls? Not today, man. Not today. Unfortunately, Bobby, don't worry. The time will come and we'll be able to talk again.
Man, are you ever going to take calls again?
I think I had a call-in show like a month ago, 2 months ago or something like that. I don't know.
That's a lie.
I don't know. So sometime then it'll happen again, guys. Listen, I'm paying Skype for a phone number that I'm not using, so I think I need to do it one time.
I'm doing the same thing. I never use it.
But I want to get you guys' thoughts on it as well. Hub, if you want to talk about what Chris was just talking about.
Yeah, no, that's actually a pretty smart idea. I was thinking a bubble with just the teams that are geographically close, but it might be smart to do the teams you're playing with. Whatever the case is, it would have to be more than one bubble. And even with 4, it might need to be more. It's just the NBA, not the NBA, the NFL has like way more players than any other sport.
1,600 players.
Exactly. So it's like it might be near impossible to do that. But the bubble idea is pretty smart. It's going to try and cut down everything all types of interaction. You see how it really is very successful with the NBA. Obviously, very different situations and whatnot. But if they could have similar success with multiple bubbles, I'm all for it. Something else I saw, which is way more out there. Harrison Jolly actually pointed me out. One of our subscribers. You had to do that. He pointed me out to to an article from like the New Zealand Herald. Apparently, the NFL, if things get really, really desperate, they might consider moving this season to New Zealand, one of the only countries that's fully recovered from COVID-19 or completely COVID-19 free. I thought it was way out there, but I mean, if things get super desperate and they really want to have a season, they might move it to a country that's completely COVID-19 free.
Well, but when New Zealand want us to go over there and then restart the cycle.
That was right. That was my response. So I'm like, I don't know if a country's about to let them in.
They're not letting us in. The whatchamacallit, the Toronto Blue Jays aren't even letting us go there to play baseball games.
Freaking Canada. I knew they hated us.
Yeah. But yeah.
Well, OGR, your thoughts, man?
I knew it was bad in baseball, but Chris pointed it out to me. It's unfortunate. I have a couple St. Louis Cardinals on my fantasy team. I'm really disappointed, Chris. Thanks for pointing that out. Because a bunch of my guys this week couldn't play. On my fantasy team, they had I think one team was playing the Miami Dolphins. I have a couple players Miami Dolphins, Miami Marlins, and the other team was playing the Phillies, which also I don't think they have any cases, but they're still postponing games, I believe.
Yeah.
But that's crazy. I actually have a good idea, and just kind of piggyback off of Chris's idea now that he got my mind working here. Why don't you just put 8 teams in a bubble across the country, pick 2 spots where they can play, in that geographical location, and then they play each team plays each other twice.
Yeah, I was saying if they kept the schedule the way it is, but yeah, that makes the most sense. Just play each team twice. That way nobody moves, and whoever wins the bubble goes to the play. Like, this is the type of year with what's going on, you have to think outside the box.
Yeah.
Right. She Got Sports is in the building. What's going on? She Got Sports. Make sure you guys check out her channel. She is a Giants YouTuber as well. Well, she's a sports YouTuber, covers Giants stuff as well.
She Got Sports. She was actually one of the first people to ever check out my channel back when I had like 20 subs.
Yeah. So I would like to have her on for one of these roundtables as well. And we
definitely want her on for one of these roundtables. We're doing this. I mean, as far as you guys know, or as far as we know, we're doing this every Sunday.
Yeah.
Kid Blue and the Hub. I mean, obviously we'll take Entertainah anytime he wants to come on, but yeah, we'd love to have her on.
Yeah, for sure. And also PTA.
I remember when I first started, she was doing it. So yeah.
She's been on it for like a good 4 years now.
That you joined the chat.
PTA Sports is the man.
Yeah, PTA Sports is in the building as well. It's my guy.
I'm about to have PTA Sports on my channel on Thursday, bro. I'm looking forward to him. He looks real fun to talk to.
Yeah,
awesome.
And he loves defensive line. So make sure you get that 3-4 discussion in there, my friend.
Gotta talk the defensive line. But and then some lesser Giants news that I guess we probably should cover. The Giants cut down the roster to 80 players from 90 to 80. Well, it's technically 81. Sandro Platzgummer, the running back from the Austria Football League, doesn't count as a roster spot just because he's from that program. So we have 81 players on the team. Unfortunately, we had to cut guys like Jonathan Hilliman and one of my guys, just because we interviewed him, Olawale Batiku Jr.
Bro, I was so sad when I saw Olawale's name, bro. I was like,
you guys knew it was happening, though.
Yo, chill out, bro.
Yeah, I wanted him to at least get a shot.
Mixed into one, bro. Come on,
right?
Now.
I wanted him to at least get a shot.
If there was preseason games, I feel you guys, but not once there was preseason. I'm sorry, Olawale was getting the axe.
Yeah, I gotta.
It was basically near impossible.
Yeah, especially with Marcus Golden coming back. So, all this competition at the edge rush spot. I think we cut Jonathan Hilliman as well, which I kind of confused me a little bit. I know we have quite a lot of running backs. I know Javon Leak is a real big excitement to people. I like Javon Leak. I just hate his combine. I know combines aren't everything, but I'm not going into with a full head on Javon Leak. But I'm very confused of why we cut Jonathan Hilliman, and we have backup running back issues. Jonathan Hilliman was able to somewhat provide some productivity one game against the New England Patriots, and Wayne Gallman is not very consistent, and we have Deion Lewis who isn't consistent as well. Was there any guys that we cut? It's probably not any, but any guys that we cut kind of surprised you guys?
The one guy that might surprise me a little bit, I know Batiku, not just you guys. Seemed like a lot of Giants fans were rooting for Batiku out of Illinois. But I, like OGR said, I don't think he was. Chris Peace was a guy that I was excited about last year when we brought him in midseason.
Didn't Chris Peace actually play in some games?
Yeah, he started in some games.
That was a little surprising. I'm not necessarily that I thought he'd make the final 53, but I thought he'd make the final 80. Yeah, who was I about to bring up?
Case Cookus. I know some people were saying Case Cookus might roll into the season.
Cook, he got cut too. I saw that. Yeah. But there was another player that surprised me just a little bit.
Levine, or is it Levine?
Oh no. Toilo didn't get cut. No, but
no, there's some dude whose last name was Levine.
Like a defensive
the cornerback that we just picked up.
Yes,
Oh,
Shaquille Taylor. Bro,
That's the one that surprised me.
Yo, that made me feel so stupid because in my video where we signed Shaquille Taylor, I was like, this is gonna be our number 2 corner. I firmly believed that he had the traits and the physical body to be that number 2 corner, and they cut him just a couple days later. I was like, what?
Yeah, I'm not crazy surprised that they cut him, but the fact you just picked him up 2 days ago, knowing that you were going to have to get down to 80.
And I reported on it too.
Yeah, I made a video on it. Why'd you cut the guy? I don't understand that, but I'm excited about Tony Brown, the wide receiver. He seems like he could that they picked up. I think 2 days ago. I think that's his name, Tony Brown. He seems like he could fight for a roster spot. But yeah, I was surprised.
He might get cut too 2 days.
Yeah, he might get cut in 2 days.
I mean, to be honest, I wouldn't be surprised by him getting cut because the undrafted free agent wide receiver group is pretty strong.
Yeah, it is.
Right, it is.
Yeah, a lot of people complain that we need to bring in a veteran. And I'm like, with all these undrafted free agent wide receivers, somebody's got to make this roster.
At the very least, one of them is making the roster. At the very least.
I think two. I think
yeah,
two.
I mean, if you want to count, I don't know if Caden is in here, but Caden, who named himself after Caden Smith, his YouTube name at least. Caden Smith, if you want to count him as a receiver, I think he's going to make it as a tight end.
Yeah, he's definitely a tight end.
Oh, yeah.
But you figure they're probably going to go with 7 wideouts. And if they go with 7, we don't even got to go with the top 3. We know the top 3. Then you've got Cody Core is definitely making it. The special teams. Corey Coleman, that's 5. And then, like you just said, I could see 2 undrafted free agents being the 6 and 7 spot, and they got 5 guys to pick from. So, yeah, I mean, Tony Brown kind of replaced Sills. Sills got the COVID, so we'll see. It sounded like he could be a guy that I think might compete to make the team.
I actually thought they brought in Tony Brown just to because they probably knew Damari Scott was gonna, opt out. They were like, all right, let's go and find somebody. So I was like, that he was probably just a replacement for Scott. But that's a good point because Sills is on the COVID-19 list.
Yeah. And Tony Brown can honestly, fight to make this roster. There's not much he's competing with at the back end of the roster. But with Benjamin Victor and Austin Mack, man, I honestly think these two can really make the squad and provide some impact this season. I want to get you guys' thoughts on both of those players because I'm a huge fan of Austin Mack, but I just don't know if the Giants need Austin Mack just because he's so similar to all the other receivers that we have. But I like Austin Mack. He's a possession receiver, not the fastest, but a good route runner, very good possession receiver, catches almost anything you throw at him. And then Benjamin Victor, who is a taller receiver that we needed, very light, needs to add some more weight, but we could use any taller receivers right now. But I just want to get you guys' thoughts on those 2 wide receivers. You guys think they're going to make the team? I'll start with OGR.
I mean, everybody knows I have the same as the Hub, as Kid Blue, and maybe even Tana. My pick to make the roster is Benjamin Victor. It has been.
Mm-hmm.
He killed us when he was playing at Ohio State, Penn State. I remember the game 2 years ago, Dwayne Haskins over the middle, Benjamin Victor to the house. So no. so this guy needs to make the roster, needs to bulk up, and I do think he can, be a decent threat, especially if we do have injuries, because we do need somebody to step up. I mean, Golden Tate, especially with Sterling Shepard with the concussions, it's no lock that all these guys are going to be starting at the same time. I want them to. I want everybody to stay healthy. But at the end of the day, we need somebody to step up. And if you don't trust Corey Coleman to, well, we're going to need one of these undrafted to grow up pretty darn quick in 14 practices.
Tana?
I agree. Benjamin Victor's been my favorite. When they first brought him in for his height alone, I think he's 6'2", 6'2.5", and he seems to be a good red zone threat. I think he had 20. He only had probably 120 career catches, but 25 of them or so were for touchdowns. He seems to be a good guy to target in the red zone. He's my favorite to make it. But Tony Brown, keep an eye on him. I think he's got an opportunity to make it. Brown did really nothing his first 3 years in college football. He transferred to Colorado, but last year everybody was talking about Laviska Shenault, who was his teammate at Colorado. He pretty much matched them. I think he had 710 yards. Shenault had 750. He had one more touchdown than Shenault did. He's tall. They said that he was really good at catching contested passes, one of the best in the nation last year. So I think any one of those guys could make the team. But yes, if I had to pick one, I would say Victor's the favorite.
And Benjamin Victor 6'4".
6'4". My mistake. I knew he was tall.
I mean, do I even need to say anything, bro? You guys already know, man. First of all, I love Ben Victor since like maybe March or February. I wanted the Giants to draft him in the 6th round. Because I knew he wasn't going to be one of these highly touted receivers just because of how strong the receiver class was. But I was like, there's no way this guy's going undrafted. And he went undrafted. But luckily, the Giants still picked him up because I always thought he was going to be a great fit for us. Both OGR and Tatum brought it up. The guy was known, or like when he broke out, I think in like 2017, 2018, it was mostly because of how good of a red zone threat he was. I think, his career stat for receiving touchdowns is like 18, and he barely played that many games. He only played in like 30 or so games, and even then, he was lost in the shuffle of the great Ohio State wide receivers. He was like very much a depth receiver, still managed to make an impact as a red zone threat. Like Entertainah said, the thing I noticed most about him, and one of the reasons I want him on a team the most, is his height, 6'4". I think he could be a good threat if he adds on a little bit of weight. I think the best overall receiver in that undrafted class is Austin Mack. He's the most polished one, but I think Victor probably has more potential, a higher ceiling. And like Kid Blue said, I don't think Austin Mack's going to make it because of the fact that he's literally, in my opinion, a carbon copy of Tate and Shepard, and even to some extent Cody Core. So it's like, I don't know if we're going to add another one of those type of receivers on there when we need a receiver like a Darius Slayton, or just like at the very, Corey Coleman, another outside receiver. And Victor can definitely be that.
Yeah, completely agree.
Not to mention Benjamin Victor, just to help the hub out here, he had 18 total touchdowns and 83 receptions.
Yeah, I think it's like, I have it pulled up here, 83 receptions, 1,340 yards, 18 touchdowns. Yeah, and then it's like a 16.1 average per reception.
Yeah, and I mean, to almost have 20% of your receptions go for touchdowns, I mean, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
Tanner, you going to say something?
No. I'm just in complete agreement. I mean, that percentage is pretty insane in terms of touchdowns. That's the first thing that jumped off the page for me. I think he had 7 last year, and he didn't have a lot of catches. So, yeah, for that reason alone, we don't really have a receiver like that, a 6'4" guy that could go up and get it. So for that reason alone, I think he's the guy that stands the best chance to make the team.
Yeah, and one thing I will know about Victor,
Sports, Austin Mack is not taller and bigger than Slayton. Austin Mack is like, what, 5'11", 6 feet?
No, I think Austin Mack is I think he's like 6'1", something like that. Austin Mack's like
isn't
6'1".
Slayton 6'3"?
No, Slayton's 6'1".
6'2", 6'1", 6'2".
Yeah.
What site you're on?
Yeah, depending on what site you're on. Want to give a quick shout out to everybody in the chat. I know Harrison Jolly has been saying what's up for a while. Harrison Jolly is one of my better subscribers. Love you, man. AV Sports in the building. Joel Yato, Mike Nixon, Mike Lowe, Jesse Bryan, Marjorie Simmons, and Nerding Out Sports, who keeps messing with me about Nick Gates. But another topic I want to talk about with you guys is one that's kind of been forgotten as Giants news, but it's one that I want to talk about just because I'm still confused as to why we did this. But
Tanner, were you talking just now? Because your mic is muted. I saw like he moved like he was talking just now.
My mic's muted? You hear me?
Oh, it was muted.
Oh, it's like delayed or something. I don't know.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
My bad, baby. Because like I saw him moving, but there was no sound coming out.
Okay, you're good, man. But yeah, some news I want to talk about was Alex Rosas being cut, and then to answer the releasing of Alex Rosas, we signed Chandler Catanzaro, who's supposed to be our savior at kicker. I don't get this move at all. Now, I know he's a younger kicker. The Giants probably want to go in that direction since they are rebuilding. I didn't know they really cared about getting younger kickers in the building. But in my opinion, I probably would have gone after Steven Gostkowski. I don't know about any other kickers in the league. I'm hearing that Graham Gano is a free agent as well. If I'm not mistaken, I probably would have tried out Graham Gano at some point. I don't know really what led the Giants to just signing Catanzaro just right after they let go of Aldrich Rosas. Seems like they were sure that that Catanzaro is the guy. Listen, Catanzaro is the type of guy that I thought he had a brother in the NFL because of how many teams he's been on in such a short span of time, okay? I literally thought this guy had a brother in the NFL. When I made the video, I made that mistake, and then I talked about it. I'm like, I'm thinking of somebody. I don't know what I'm thinking about, but I guess I was thinking about him. But yeah, I want to get you guys' thoughts. Hub, I'll start with you about Aldrich Rosas and then signing Chandler Catanzaro.
Well, with Rosas, I mean, I thought it should have happened sooner, but I said I give props, and I still do, to the Giants for being as objective as they can and respectful as they can with Rosas and his situation and whatnot. They obviously probably did their own investigation. I don't think anybody's surprised that he got cut. With Catanzaro, I 100% do not want this dude to be the starting kicker for the Giants. I want them to sign, and I expect them to sign a couple more kickers, whether it's veterans that we know of like Graham Gano, Steven Gostkowski, or undrafted guys that we don't know about that come in and compete for that spot. Because the whole reason I don't want Catanzaro to be our starting kicker is because the dude gave up on himself. He has, confidence issues, and that's not a good thing at any position in the NFL. Especially,
he just said, "I'm gone. I'm gone."
Yeah,
I suck.
Said to himself after in a game against the Giants preseason, I think it was 2018. That's another thing. He's been gone from the game for like a whole season now. So that adds into, listen, kicker is not the most strenuous position to prepare for, but once again, like everybody's been saying, 14 padded practices. He's been out of the league for a while. That adds into it as well. I just don't want him to be the starting kicker. I don't know if I'm being too harsh. I want them to bring in a couple of other guys and see what happens.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. I don't know if my camera keeps freezing. I don't know what's going on, but regardless, you guys could hear me. As far as he goes, Chandler Catanzaro, I don't really get the signing, to be completely honest with you. I don't think he's going to be – I think it'll be a competition. I don't think they're done yet searching for a kicker, or maybe they are. We'll see. The one thing that stood out to me when I looked at his numbers, because obviously I don't watch a lot of film on kickers, he has a strong leg. He's made, I think he's 10 for 16 career, 50 yards or longer. He's made a 60-yard field goal, a 59-yard field goal. So he's got a strong leg, not the most accurate kicker. I'm in complete agreement. I'm not sold on Catanzaro. He's definitely a downgrade from Aldrich Rosas. And it sucks, but I agree with you guys. I think Graham Gano would be the guy that I would target. Gostkowski, he's coming off an injury. I think he played 4 games last year, so I could see that. Why maybe they wouldn't be interested in him, even though that would be the guy I would go after if he was healthy. But I do think Gano's a guy that they should definitely look at. Catanzaro's not a guy that I trust.
Yeah. Do you agree, OGR?
I trust in Catanzaro. I'm just joking. He had his best season was with the Arizona Cardinals, where he had hit 90% of his kicks. For the most part, I agree with the Hub. The guy's given up on himself, and maybe he can gain confidence with the Giants. But I'm just, as a fan, I am tired of sweating out kicks and extra points. I mean, you think back to Rojas and the Jets game. We should have won that game. If it wasn't for freaking Rojas, we would have won that game. So, yeah, I'm just tired. I want the Giants to get a relax and hold on to him for 4 or 5 years. Just please, because I'm tired of sweating kicks and extra points. It really is getting ridiculous.
And Kid Blue actually brought this up on the last Young Guns episode. He was like, you don't want to be a team that falls into a kicking circus, a kicking merry-go-round. Right. He brought up a couple examples that's in my mind right now, but there's still teams in the league looking for a kicker since they lost their last good kicker.
Let me tell you, man, I'm down here in the Central Florida area, and I'm surrounded by Tampa Bay Bucks fans, okay? That's all that's on my TV constantly. I work with a bunch of Bucks fans. They have been looking for a kicker ever since Roberto Aguayo, since they drafted him with a second round pick. Okay, they're in kicker hell right now. They've been losing games because of kickers. I hear them all the time coming into work because they're mad at some kicker that they signed. Okay, I don't want to.
Shout out to Matt Gay though, best Tampa Bay Buccaneer kicker. Matt Gay, yeah. Week 3, 2019, best kicker.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he got us to win. So it kind of offset Rosas losing us the Jet game.
Yeah, he's the best player for the Giants that day. But there are one news that has happened. I think yesterday, the Dallas Cowboys actually cut Kai Forbath. Now I don't know if that's an interesting name to throw out there. I know he was a former Washington Redskins or Washington football team's kicker. But that would be an interesting name to throw out there as well. Kai Ford about to come in competition with Chandler Catanzaro. But I'll point out to what Nerding Out Sports said. He said we should have kept Robbie Gould, and
I keep saying that, bro.
Should have, man.
Robbie, I don't know why we ever let go of him in the 2016 season. That made no sense, man. He's not one of the better kickers in the league.
He started with the Bears. I forgot about Robbie Gould. We had him for
yeah,
I forgot about that. Yeah, he was always an accurate guy. Not much of a long leg, but an accurate kicker.
Right. Completely agree.
Big Wrecking Crew says we need to re-sign Lawrence Tynes. Yo, Lawrence Tynes on Twitter, he'd be willing to come back. Yo,
he's a savage on Twitter, man.
Yeah.
People forget. I love Lawrence Tynes. He kicked us to the Super Bowl. People forget. I never was confident with Lawrence Tynes. Lawrence Tynes wasn't like this great kicker. Everybody forgets. I think he missed 3 field goals before he hit the one that sent us to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, he missed like 2 or 3 in that Green Bay.
Yeah. He finally made it happen, man. Mike Lowe says, "Where are you in Florida?" I'm in Central Florida. I don't want anybody to know my exact location. What's wrong with you guys?
Doug Peterson. Somebody needs to check this. Doug Peterson got corona. If this is true, I never wish bad on anybody or anything, but I told y'all the Eagles are going to collapse this year, bro.
Yeah, one thing I will tell you, man. I think
Lane Johnson give it to him? That's what I want to know.
Yep, it's true. According to Adam Schefter on Twitter.
Stop making out with Doug Peterson.
Kid Blue, can I share screen real quick?
Go ahead if you want to.
So, I'm on Twitter right now. So here you guys go. Adam Schefter on Twitter. Let me know if you see it. Eagles head coach Doug Peterson tested positive for coronavirus. Sources told ESPN. He did this after receiving this is his second positive test.
Wow.
So
second positive test. How come the first one never showed up?
I have no idea. But listen.
I'm still here, by the way, guys. I just saw my camera keeps flashing, so I just took the camera. I don't want people to.
But Entertainah, you were looking so stoic.
Yeah, I'm sorry, guys. I'm sorry if you guys are upset that Chris can't show his face, his beautiful face, but
can't see the moss.
Can't see the moss.
There's the moss. There you go.
But I guess since it was brought up, anybody want to talk on that? Since it is NFC news, NFC East.
Peterson getting the corona. Listen, it's not going to last a long time because the typical quarantine time for anybody that catches COVID is like 2 weeks, 3 weeks tops. So he'll be back sometime. I don't think it's much of a big deal.
No, neither do I. If it happened during the season, maybe, but for the most part, I think the Eagles can handle it for a little while. They have somebody like Schwartz who's been a former coach to get everything organized.
Yeah, I'll say if it was Judge, I think it'd be a big deal because Judge is new. For any one of the other teams, I think it'd be a pretty big deal because they're new coaches. They're trying to instill their culture, learn the play. But Peterson's been there for a while. That's the biggest advantage that the Eagles have going into this season is they have familiarity with their coach. So as long as he's back, like KB said, within 2 weeks, I don't think it's much of an issue for the Eagles. I think if it was the Giants, it'd be a big deal. But for the Eagles, I agree. It's not much of a big deal.
That's actually a pretty good point. It literally just slipped my mind, but it was out of your OGR that brought it up. I think it was you. Every other team in the NFC East except for the Eagles have a new coaching staff. I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
And I think they're going to be able to take advantage of that. I think I do expect them to get out to the best start because of that.
I think they'll get out to the best start, but I still think the Eagles went 7-9, man.
Yeah, I fully believe the Eagles to collapse this year, bro. They're missing so many players on the
defensive roster
is.
The roster's terrible.
Their depth is atrocious, and then of course the problems on the offensive line as well.
Right. I have this question here by Isaiah Y. I'll show it on the screen right now. It's a pretty controversial question because a lot of people go different ways. I don't know how you guys feel in your heart of hearts, but I want to ask it here just to get some conversation stirring. But do you trust the Dave Gettleman? Do you guys trust the Dave Gettleman? I'll start with OGR.
Come on. Do you really need to start with me on this one? It's easy. Of course I trust in Dave Gettleman. I want continuity. I fully blame everything on ownership. We know how I feel about ownership. Dave Gettleman, I trust. Drafts, whatnot. I'm happy with Dave Gettleman. Yes, he's made some duds. Yes, he's made some moves that make you scratch your head. What general manager hasn't? Yes, I want Dave Gettleman because if we get rid of Dave Gettleman, it will be one of the biggest mistakes we make because I ask each and every Dave Gettleman hater out there, what other GM are we going to get? I'll tell you what other GM we get. Our current assistant GM, Kevin Abrams. So unless you think Kevin Abrams can do a better job than Dave Gettleman, I don't want to hear it. Dave Gettleman, I trust. Next 2 years, easy.
Love it. Hub?
I fully trust Dave Gettleman, and I mean, I say I trust Dave Gettleman so many times that people think I'm like a Dave Gettleman defender, like one of the Dave Gettleman White Knighters. Now I just try to be objective as possible. The dude is one of the best at drafting. I mean, look at his 3 draft classes, bro. They were all home run draft classes. Like half of the team right now is built off of Dave Gettleman's drafts, and that is definitely something to keep in mind when we talk about the potential where they can go. Now, next year, 2 years down the line, if everybody turns out to be a bust, then in Dave Gettleman, we don't trust. But I trust him a lot. And with free agency, I mean, up until this year, he didn't really have that much, room to move about with in free agency in the first year up until this year. And I think he did an all right job. I won't say he did a great job. I don't think he did a terrible job either. I think he did an all right job. But most importantly, yeah, man, you better not fire him. Like OGR said, you're going to start all over, bro. Ownership has a lot to do with how the team is, the position that the team is in right now. And just keep him, man. Keep him on for a couple more years, see where it goes.
Right.
Yeah. I like Dave Gettleman. Do I trust him? No. He told me we weren't going to trade Odell Beckham, and he did. So I don't trust everything that comes out of his mouth. Yeah. But in terms of the GM of this football team, I think he's the right GM for now. Do I necessarily know he'll be the right GM when we get good? Not necessarily. I don't know that, but I do think he was the right guy to be brought in. This team needed a complete overhaul. They should have started his first year here. That was the biggest mistake. And like OGR always says, and I think you guys agree, I completely put that on ownership. I think they forced Eli Manning to stay, and they prevented the rebuild from starting the first year that Gettleman got here. Is Gettleman perfect? No. What GM is? Look at all the Patriots haven't drafted well in 10 years. So I think that Gettleman drafts well, and I think that's what we needed more than anything. I'll defend Gettleman. I'll defend Gettleman till the death because I do think that he gets unfairly treated by a lot of New York Giants fans. He does some bad things, but as far as this offseason goes, I don't know what more you could have wanted. You had a GM that's supposedly on the hot seat that had every right to do exactly what Jerry Reese did in 2016 and throw a boatload of money at these players, give them 5-year deals. He didn't do that. He thought about the future of this team. He drafted well. He brought in guys that were the BPAs when they picked rather than drafting for need, which was the right decision, being that we're not a win-now team right now. I thought he had a really sound draft. He had the balls to take Andrew Thomas, number 4. I love him for it, and I'm all aboard the Dave Gettleman train, man. I want him here for at least this the 2021 season. I'll defend Dave Gettleman. When he does stupid things, I'll bash him. But overall, I like the direction that Dave Gettleman's got this team going.
KB, highlight PTA Sports comment for me.
Let's see. Wait, is it higher up? I don't see it. Oh, I see one.
It might be higher up.
Got it.
If you don't like Dave Gettleman, I will fight you.
I love it. PTA Sports, I am with you, man. Listen, I have a lot of guys in my comment section as well. Subs, talking, we have these debates constantly with Dave Gettleman, especially when he does something stupid. But, just because he does one thing wrong doesn't mean he should be fired off the bat. Now, Dave Gettleman, time and time again, decisions that I thought were terrible wound up working out. Now, I'm not going to say every decision because Antoine Bethea was a disaster, and Leonard Williams is looking to be a disaster. So
Jonathan Stewart was a disaster.
Jonathan Stewart, I think, was different because we weren't very big. We didn't have too much cap that year, and we had to get somebody in to try to help Saquon Barkley. That was Saquon's rookie year. So we had to help, have somebody.
I'm going to ask you a question on everybody to be completely honest on. How much do you really think Jonathan Stewart helped Saquon?
No, he didn't help Saquon, but he was there. He wasn't there to play a huge role. I think everybody understood that. I think he was just there to provide depth for Saquon Barkley. Now, it didn't wind up working out, but who cares? We barely played Jonathan Stewart much anyway.
I kind of say the same thing about Bethea, though. Can I really get on him?
You could really say the same thing about Bethea.
No, but Bethea started.
But we had no cap space because of Reese. So he kind of was.
I love me some Antoine Bethea, even after that horrible play of bad tackles.
I mean, it comes back to what I said. Like, he never really had room to move around with in free agency until this year, and he did an all right job this year.
Right. I think he did all right. But like I said, a couple of moves, like the Odell move. Everybody knows about that video about Odell.
What you get on him for is the Ogletree trade. That was a bad trade.
Right. That was a bad trade
and of course the Leonard Williams one.
Yeah, I was mentioning that. That's looking to be just a disaster waiting to happen. But, he's proven us wrong before. And, yes, he wasn't truthful in those decisions. Like he said, he didn't sign Odell to trade him. He wound up trading him. Initially, I went off. Everybody's seen that video. I went off on that midstream. But I'm talking a couple of days later, I'm like, yeah, you know what? Maybe this was a good thing. And it totally shifted my thought on, damn, we should never draft a first-round receiver again. I mean, looking at all these first-round receivers, that really opened my eyes as to how valuable for a first-round receiver is. And then you look at the Daniel Jones.
Or was it that I rebut you, Kid Blue?
Huh? You did rebut me too. Got to give you the credit there. But that was the first time too. I think that was the first and only time. But I was kind of honored because I was waiting for that too. But there was the Daniel Jones situation too, and I think everybody had their opinion on the Daniel Jones situation. A lot of our videos went viral on it, and I think we all were kind of right. We weren't wrong for thinking the way we thought. But I think right now Dave Gettleman's having the last laugh about Daniel Jones. And of course, the jury's still out on Daniel Jones. He's had 1 year. We shouldn't jump into anything yet. But as far as right now, Daniel Jones is exceeding expectations. So to say that you don't trust Dave Gettleman, he's pretty much done a hell of a job as to any other GM would have done. I think the runner-up for GM when Dave Gettleman was in the hiring process was Louis Riddick from ESPN. I don't know if
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, no, he was. It's every Gettleman's hater's favorite GM in the world.
Oh yeah, exactly. It was.
And
wow.
We would have had Dwayne Haskins last year if he was.
Exactly. We would have had Dwayne Haskins last year, or maybe even Sam Darnold, because Louis Riddick was chewing up Dave Gettleman, because of course Louis Riddick didn't win the job. So in those two drafts, he had to go off on Dave Gettleman. I believe he said Saquon was a bad pick, that he should have gotten Sam Darnold to build for the future. And then he said that Daniel Jones was a horrendous pick and that he can't believe he did that. And then Dwayne Haskins should have been the guy. And we all know that Dave Gettleman was probably the best option, guys. If you guys did not want Dave Gettleman, for anybody that don't like Dave Gettleman, you would have had Louis Riddick. So
man, we would have had Sam Darnold or Dwayne Trashkins or even Isaiah Simmons this year. And Isaiah Simmons isn't a bad player, but considering where the O-line is right now, would have been a bad pick.
Oh man, I think Louis Riddick also went off about Isaiah Simmons as well. Yeah. So listen, this guy hates the Giants because he didn't get the job. Yes,
Louis Riddick said if they don't take Isaiah Simmons, he said something like he'll jump through a window or something. Like it was something ridiculous. But at the end, Dave Gettleman's legacy is going to come down to two decisions. Mm-hmm. Two decisions. Three decisions. Taking Saquon Barkley over a quarterback, then taking your quarterback, number 6 overall the next year. If Daniel Jones works out to be better than Darnold, better than Rosen, and better than Allen, because Lamar Jackson was never in the discussion, he's going to look brilliant. It's going to come down. It's primarily going to come down to that at the end of the day, finding that franchise quarterback. And if Daniel Jones works out to be the franchise quarterback, he's going to look very smart, Dave Gettleman, at the end of the day, and he's going to prove a lot of the haters wrong. So we're going to have to wait and see how it all plays out. You can't judge it off 1 year, but he's off to a good start, like you said, with DJ.
Oh, I think this is a very interesting comment. Mike Lowe says Riddick is now the voice of Monday Night Football. And if you guys didn't know,
we're definitely getting hated the first week of the season.
Yeah,
we're getting some serious
week 1. We are facing the Pittsburgh Steelers on Monday Night Football, so prepare to hear all the criticisms on Dave Gettleman and the Giants.
Man, you're about to hear.
I'm back. I said I'll test out the Moss. The Moss is back. I said I'll test out the camera to see if it's working better. So far, so good. So
cool,
I'm back.
Cool. Awesome. Good to have you back, man.
I met Chris. That's all I did was admire the Moss.
That
was great getting to meet you. Hopefully next time we get to meet the Hub, next time we go to a Giant game.
Oh yeah, man. Kush.
Man.
Hopefully next year, man. I would have loved for it to happen this year. You guys know that we can't have no Giants game with no fans in the stands. But next year,
license plates guys party.
Yeah.
I was about to suggest that because when I had LPG on, he invited me. I was gonna extend it to you guys. He's throwing together basically a New York Giants fan get together at the Rockland baseball park. He's going to invite Ahmad Bradshaw and Brandon Jacobs and a couple other former Giants players to be there as well for us to watch the Monday Night Football game. It's open to everybody.
Oh, that's cool. I would love to try to go up there. Unfortunately, I'm 2,000 miles away, man. But that sucks.
I got to speak about it's not like I have a car or anything. So transportation to get there is going to be tough.
Right. I have
I'll drive you. Don't worry.
Who's gonna drive you? Okay. Do you guys see Daniel Jones? I'll put a question on here. Do you guys see Daniel Jones having an Eli Manning type career, win Super Bowls in year 3, but will always be hated on by the media? That's an interesting question, and I think it's already happening.
Because I'm actually going to have to go back to this question. Because my wife's getting home soon and I want to get these kids to bed. So as far as do I see him winning it in his third year? No, I don't. But would I like him to? Absolutely. And I don't know what just happened. I think a kid just broke his head. But yeah, for the most part, I do think Daniel Jones will always have that legacy of hate. I mean, people just looked for a reason to hate on Daniel Jones regardless. People go to the fumbles, and then when they go to the fumbles, they say, well, look at Carson Wentz. Winning solves everything, and nobody complains about Carson Wentz's fumble. The first time I've seen any Eagles content creator come to it was Lord Brunson, because he's running out of content, but obviously he's got content now with Doug Peterson. So it's just like winning solves everything. And once we start winning, people ain't going to say anything. And when they're not saying anything, that's a good thing. But for the most part, yes, Daniel Jones will be hated his entire Giants career.
Entertainah?
Comes with the territory. Yeah. Eli Manning was hated a year after he won his in 2009. He was hated again after he won his first Super Bowl. And then a year or two after he won his second, he was hated again. And he was hated the year he won his Super Bowl before he proved he was elite again. Now, I don't think Eli won his fourth year. I think in the question he said the third year. He won his fourth year. In terms of Super Bowl success, if he gets me one, I'm thrilled. I mean, most quarterbacks don't get you two. How many quarterbacks have won 2 Super Bowls in the history of the league? Maybe 6, 7? Not a lot. So to OGR, have a good one, man.
All right, OGR.
Peace out, OGR.
To expect them to win 2 Super Bowls, asking a lot. Off the top of my head, Bradshaw did it, Montana did it, Aikman did it, Eli did it, Bart Starr did it, Peyton did it, Tom Brady did it. Is that it? 7? Maybe there's one more. But regardless, not a lot of quarterbacks have won 2. So to have the expectations that Daniel Jones is going to win 2 is it?
And then obviously the MVPs.
Yeah, it's asking a lot. So if he gets one, I'll be thrilled. And I don't even care. Daniel Jones doesn't need to be an elite quarterback. If we build this team the right way, we get the offensive line going, we build up that defense. As long as he's a top 10, 12 quarterback, we're going to win football games. It's about the surrounding team that you put around him.
Right. Completely agree. And Hub, you put your
I 100% agree, man. I mean, I don't know if you guys remember on the very first roundtable we had, like with the 6 creators on there. I listen, I'm sticking with what I said. There, I said the Giants will be in Super Bowl 56, which would be his third year, I believe, because, yeah, I think that would be his third year. 54 was this year, and 55, 56. Listen, I'm sticking with that. I think we can make it Super Bowl 56, win it completely. I don't know, completely out of the question, but I'm sticking with that, yo. We're going to be in Super Bowl 56. I think the offense is right there. All we need to fix is that defense, and we're going to be in the playoffs, man. I really firmly believe that we have a great offense on the way.
I hope so. I really do, man. I want to have that confidence. And to build off of what Tana said, you're absolutely right about the whole quarterback situation. A lot of people overrate the quarterback. It's one of the most overrated positions in sports right now. You got guys getting paid almost $50 million. I mean, Patrick Mahomes is great, but
Patrick Mahomes, at least he's using his money correctly, bro.
Exactly.
Now part owner of the Royals.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
But the value of the quarterback is just growing higher and higher by the year. The cap is not even keeping up. And, you have to build. I think a lot of people are not getting it through their heads. Everybody's focused on the quarterback. They're not even talking about building an offensive line, a defense, a strong defense that can, prevent points being scored. There's so much more to building a legacy. There's so much more to building a championship team. Quarterbacks are just a part of it. So when it comes to Daniel Jones, I'm not asking the dude to be, a top 5 quarterback in the NFL. In fact, I don't mind if he's a top 10 quarterback, because if he could win as a top 10 quarterback, we'll probably be paying him only top 10 quarterback money. So hopefully that's the case.
Those guys get paid anyway. Ryan Tannehill got paid this year. But I mean, I'm in complete agreement. You as crazy as it sounds, quarterback is the most important position in football, and it's also the most overrated position in football. Right. They get all the grief when the team does bad, and that's undeserved, and they get all the glory when the team does good, and that's undeserved. That's just the nature of the position. You get all the credit either way. But at the end of the day, you look at a lot of the quarterbacks. Ryan Tannehill is a perfect example. Ryan Tannehill is a perfect example. This guy was this close to being out of the NFL. He goes to Tennessee. They have an established ground game. He had 118 QB rating or whatever he had. He goes to the Pro Bowl. He gets paid a boatload. Teddy Bridgewater is a perfect example. Yeah. He steps in. The New Orleans Saints have the best offensive line in the NFL. He goes 5-0. Now he's making, $65 million over 3 years. Alex Smith, perfect example. He sucked his first 5-6 years in the league, gets Harbaugh, goes to Kansas City with Andy Reid. You give a good support system to an okay quarterback, he looks great. You give a horrible support system to a very good quarterback, he looks bad. So you need a team. There's very few quarterbacks. Pat Mahomes is probably one of them. Watson's probably one of them. Aaron Rodgers is probably one of them. But there are very few quarterbacks that could overcome a bad support system. And that's it. You got to set these guys up for success. And because the position is so overpaid, we saw it with Eli Manning. I love Eli Manning, my favorite Giant ever. But once he got that second contract extension, because they couldn't draft to save their lives, they couldn't support him. They had a mediocre defense at best those last 6-7 years of his career, and they had no offensive line. So without that, most quarterbacks are not winning football games.
Yeah, you're right. Hope you want to say something?
I basically agree with everything he just said. There's not really much for me to add on. Like, everything, he hit on every point I was going to say.
Yeah, good. All right, so guys, we'll about run on probably like 5-10 more minutes. You guys can ask all the questions you guys can within the.
I see one question that needs no answer, but we got to address it. Edward Chan, one of my big supporters, he says, if you could go back, would you want Philip, Roethlisberger, or Eli? Eli, 100%, bro. Roethlisberger, he won one Super Bowl. I know he has 2 on his resume, but he won 1 Super Bowl for the Steelers, and with all the off-the-field issue with Ben Roethlisberger, I don't want him anywhere near the Giants. And Phillip Rivers doesn't have the temperament to survive in New York, let alone given the fact that out of all 3 of these guys, he possibly had the most talented and stacked squad for the most amount of years over there in the Chargers and did nothing with it.
Right.
You know who I'm picking, but now I'll be completely unbiased and I'll say that Ben's going to go down as the best quarterback of the class just because he had the longevity and Eli tailed off. But let's be real here. Look what Ben Roethlisberger had his entire career. Ben Roethlisberger had one of the top 5 offensive lines literally his entire career. Mm-hmm. He had a great defense his entire career. Give that to Eli Manning. The other thing I'll say, in New York, those guys ain't handling New York the way that Eli Manning did. Phillip Rivers pouts when his wide receiver drops a pass. Imagine how he would handle the New York media. And Ben Roethlisberger, well, he was accused of rape. How do you think that would have been handled?
Exactly.
So in New York, there is no doubt Eli Manning was the best fit for the New York Giants. Not to mention he had a very strong arm in the windy conditions in the Meadowlands.
I think they all went to exactly where they would fit the best.
Yeah.
Completely agree with you guys. And when it comes to Phillip Rivers, you're right. His temperament was not going to survive in the NFL at all. And as far as Ben Roethlisberger goes, I mean, if we had Ben Roethlisberger, then we would have to constantly be in a market for another backup quarterback. We didn't have to worry about that with Eli. Ben Roethlisberger was constantly getting hurt.
Yeah.
So if you ask me about would you rather have the talent of quarterback, the better career of Ben Roethlisberger or what Eli Manning brought to the Giants? I'd take Eli Manning all day, every day, man.
I actually have another interesting question for you guys, kind of based off of Raymond asking, can you name the starting 11 on the defense? Instead of that, or maybe we can get to that as well, can you guys project who you think are going to be team captains this year?
That's a good one.
Because that's going to happen within the next coming weeks.
So how does it work? It goes by I know a quarterback and running back could both have it because Eli and Barkley had it, right?
It's either 3 per each group, offense, defense, special teams, or 2 per each group. I can't remember which one.
Well, I know that Solder, they had 3 last year on the offense because Solder had one, Eli had one, and
Barkley,
had one. So on the offense, I would guess Jones, I think, is going to get it. I think he's
his second year? Really?
Yeah, I think he's going to get it. I think he's the leadership role has really been out there this year. I think they're going to give it to him. I could be wrong. Saquon obviously is going to keep it. And then you have a guy that's going to replace Nate Solder. I would probably lean Zeitler. I would probably lean Zeitler on the offensive line. In terms of the defense,
that's where it gets a bit more tough.
We lost a couple. We lost captains. I think Alec Ogletree at one point was a captain, and who else did we lose that was a captain? Michael Thomas was a captain.
Michael Thomas was a captain.
Yeah, I'm still kind of upset that we didn't re-sign him. Michael Thomas was a great leader. That's why he was a captain, and he was pretty good on special teams for the Giants.
And quickly before we continue, OGR with the $5 donation. He's the guy that was just on here, if you guys didn't know.
Go over there and sub him up.
Yeah, go ahead there, sub him up. By the way, everybody's links are in the description below. I can't believe I didn't say that before. Everybody's links are in the description below. Make sure you guys sub up these awesome YouTubers, create amazing content. and glad to have him on. It's an honor to have him on. Sorry I had to leave so abruptly, but thank you. Thank you for having me on, KB. A pleasure working with Tana and the Hub. Huge shout out to the chat, and huge shout out to you, OGR. Thank you so much for taking the time to come on the roundtable, man. It was awesome having you on. But yeah, man, have a good night, OGR.
OGR's I love the new logo.
Yeah.
The new logo, man. Yeah.
So you were saying on defense before OGR Super Chat, Tana?
Yeah, on defense, I mean, if I had to guess, if you're picking three, and I'm guessing you go by, section, defensive line, linebacker, the secondary. I guess it's either got to be Peppers or Bradbury, even though Bradbury's new to the team. Probably in the secondary, I mean, because everybody else is basically a rookie. So I'll go with Peppers just because he's been there another year. The linebacking core, I'll go with Martinez, I guess.
Yeah, I think linebacking core might be a no-brainer. Maybe
I'll go with Martinez. And defensive line, I would have said maybe Leonard Williams, not anymore. Maybe Dexter Lawrence, even though he's in his second year.
I was going to say Tomlinson.
Oh, Tomlinson. Good one. It'll be I agree, Tomlinson. I would go Tomlinson, Martinez, and Peppers. I agree.
And special teams, I don't really know if we should ask that because the special teams, it's still not completely set yet who's even going to be over there. Like, for example, if Corey Coleman is going to be on here specifically as a special team guy, he might get it. Nate Ebner might get it coming over from the Patriots. Like, I'm not sure who's going to get it on special teams yet. Kibble, what about you? What would your captains be going into the season?
As far as defense goes, I completely agree. I'd say probably Jabril Peppers on that secondary. Linebackers, I don't know because I don't know if Blake Martinez was even a leader over there in Green Bay because he was complaining that he wasn't used and stuff like that, and he was kind of pouting a little bit. So I don't know.
That's a good point. Like he could be a good player, but not necessarily a good leader.
Right. And as far as the defensive line goes, I'm pretty sure BJ Hill was very vocal his rookie year. And he doesn't have to be necessarily starters to be a captain. But yeah, I probably lead Dalvin Tomlinson too. I'm just looking for like the more vocal guys. It sucks that we lost a lot of the vocal guys to really give the hoorah in the beginning of the games. Like Alec Ogletree always did that, and Michael Thomas was doing that as well. And it sucks that we lost those guys. I just wish that we had. It's always different when you have an edge rusher do it. You know what I'm talking about? Those aggressive guys on their field, and they're just aggressive on and off the field. Like Justin Tuck was a hell of a motivator. Michael Strahan
with the jumps and the stomps.
Exactly. I would have loved that.
Man. I love both those guys, but
was the chance of Golden maybe being captain this year?
I don't know. Golden seems like a good candidate, but he's very quiet.
Yeah, but he is a veteran. The Giants just don't have a lot of veterans, but Golden is a decent suggestion.
And on offense, Kid Blue, who would you have?
Offense, my no-brainer pick obviously would be Saquon Barkley and then Kevin Zeitler. I mean, maybe Golden Tate would be a guy out there. He's very motivational. I follow him on Instagram. Sterling Shepard's also very motivational as well. But I know for sure. And Daniel Jones has a really good chance of doing it as well. I've seen his leadership as well. And usually you would want to give that to your young quarterback. And I hope anybody that gets it, man, I just hope you can motivate the team because they're very underrated, man. These team captains, man. Sometimes they're the reason why these teams have that morale boost and they go out there and win the game, man. So I hold that as valuable. So hopefully these guys step up and become actual leaders that they don't have a C on their chest for no reason.
Exactly.
Yeah. Sorry. Go ahead, Hub. I'm sorry.
It's all right, bro. My bad. I was gonna say for offense, the thing with Daniel Jones is, I think we all see him actually take and step into that leadership role very well this offseason. I don't know. I feel like he just has to prove to the team as a whole that he deserves that captain badge a lot. I said the same thing about Saquon, funnily enough, last year when Saquon got the captain badge. I'm like, speaking from the perspective as a guy, say, like, who's been on the team as a veteran, and you're not, once again, you don't necessarily have to be a great player to be a good leader and be the captain of that locker room. I was like, Saquon, I think maybe needs to prove himself a bit more before he got that badge. Obviously, I think I was wrong there, and I may be wrong about DJ, but I still think he needs to prove himself one more year before he gets that badge. For that reason, I'm going to go Saquon, Zeitler, and Tate. Because he's been a leader wherever he goes in whichever locker room he's been, and I fully expect him to be a leader with the Giants. I mean, he was with us last year as a leader as well, especially with the wide receivers. Defense, it gets rocky on defense, but I'm gonna say Dalvin Tomlinson gets the nod. You bring up a good point though, KB. He's not very vocal. then again, Eli Manning wasn't very vocal, and he was a captain.
Right.
So, don't necessarily need to be, a talkative guy to have that badge or be that leader. So I think Dalvin Thompson might get it. Linebackers, where it gets choppy, it might be Martinez, but it might be somebody like David Mayo, for all we know, that comes out and becomes a leader on that defense. But for the sake of me not knowing who to choose for linebacking role, I'm going to go with two people in the secondary to make up for that. I'm going to go Bradbury and Peppers. They would both get a captain badge in the secondary.
Yeah, I completely get what you're saying there with the second year for Daniel Jones. I just think the Giants are going to force feed the quarterback the captain badge. I think they gave it to Eli Manning his second year. They gave it to Saquon Barkley his second year.
Mm-hmm.
I think Jones is going to get it. And I think the way he's handled himself off the field this year, whether or not you agree with some of the things he said, I think he's done a great job. The leadership.
Has he even said anything? He's been.
Well,
I'm
not going to get political on here. The BLM he talked about.
But
for that. And I'm not going to give my opinion on it. But regardless, he's handled himself very well this offseason, showing that he cares for his teammates. I think he's shown a lot of leadership, and that's what leadership's about. Even if you may not even agree with some of the things that you're saying, it shows that you're thinking about other people, and that's what you look for with captains. And I think Daniel Jones has shown that this offseason, and I'm looking for. I think he's going to get the captain badge.
Completely agree.
Heartstorm,
yeah, hold on. Heartstorm Media HSM, what's going on, brother? He says, "Hey guys, don't know what y'all are talking about, but I'm sorry I'm missing it. My birthday was yesterday. Stand up. Well, happy birthday, Heartstorm.
Happy belated birthday, Heartstorm. You go over there and check him out, man. He's a great content creator in general.
Right. Heartstorm Media is the man. Oh, I always love working with that guy whenever I can. Happy birthday to you, my man.
Happy birthday. Yeah, so guys, we are ready, and unfortunately, HSM, we're about to wrap this up. But guys, that's about to conclude the roundtable, man. It was an absolute blast. First time I had it on the channel, I believe. Well, I had one last week on the channel. But yeah, this is an absolute blast, guys. This was completely fun. We had a lot of topics to talk about as far as Giants news goes. So that was great. And you guys in the chat were awesome. Make sure you guys hit that like button for you. You guys are on your way out. And yeah, any final thoughts from you guys?
Well, TD just asked, before you Entertainah, why are you 3'7"? I don't.
Yo, where's this joke coming from?
I've been asked since I've been on YouTube. It must be the way that I present myself on camera, the way I sit in my chair. Maybe it's the way that the camera's presented. Kid Blue met me in person. Okay, Bad Dog claims to be 6 feet tall. I was just as tall as Bad Dog.
I was taller. Yeah.
And
Entertainah, maybe it's because you always say stand up, but you never stand up.
Maybe that's what it is. I don't know. I'm a legitimate 5'11". I don't know why people think I'm 3'7". I'm a decent height, guys. I'm not gonna say that.
He says he's talking about the Mets record, not your height.
Well, I actually got it wrong.
Hey,
because the Mets are 3-8, so get it right. You suck even worse than what you said.
Oh man,
I'm kidding with you. Yeah, it's tough to be a Mets fan. But hopefully we bounce back tomorrow. No, are we 3-7? Did I get it wrong? Maybe. Oh, we are 3-7. I'm wrong. I'm just projecting that we're going to lose tomorrow. But
who you guys playing tomorrow?
Hopefully Jacob deGrom goes out and gets a win. We need it. We definitely need it. We got to get to 4-7.
What are you?
Yeah, I mean, thank you guys. Listen, man, the chat has been killing it. Thank you for all you that tune in. We hit like 80 people or some point. Spike that like button. Go over and check out everybody's channel if you haven't already, man. Thank you to Entertainah, OGR, who's already gone, and Kid Blue. It was a blast being on here as usual.
All right, guys. And that all being said, we'll see you guys in the next stream. See you guys later.